up with private financing with the first lenders that we ended up working with. And then we ended up working with them a bunch of times after that. So that kind of broke the seal for us on financing. We rehabbed it, we refinanced it. So if you have heard the RRR technique, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, that's pretty much what we did there. And we have about $900, a little more actually today, coming from that on a monthly basis because we manage that. And so we get the management expense for it too. So those are our early deals, and those are all great. I mean, we were getting up in front of people and talking about our success and being on expert panels and like, look, all these things were positives. We didn't lose any money, we didn't lose anybody else's money, we didn't have any deals fail. But our financial situation was not really going that great because it's some money, but it wasn't enough to really cover what I had been doing previously. So we got to a point where we were kind of at a crossroads at the end of 2015, and I was considering I'm really either going to have to go back to full-time employment as a homeschooling mom, so those things don't really work too well, or take a leap of faith in a new direction with the real estate stuff. So that's why we chose wholesaling, because it is the fastest money that you can make in the real estate game with very low risk and very low money needed involved to do that, just kind of using your own efforts to do it. So we wanted to do that. And plus, one of the things that we were learning is that we needed to stay focused on our marketing, because this is what we were doing every time we got a new deal. Different strategy, learn a new thing, market a little bit more, do another deal, new strategy, learn a new thing. And we just kept having these cycles where it wasn't steadily going up like we needed it to.
Yeah, we had some also fear of missing out. So every time there was a shiny new object or a new seminar that would come out, we'd go and buy it or do a new boot camp. So we definitely went through that stage of real estate investing.
And I love education, and I'm an educator at heart. So it was like, if I can just learn all this stuff and know all the ins and outs, like I'll be able to do it all. And what they say is those who can do and those who can't teach. And I don't really think that that's actually true in most cases, but that's kind of what was happening. I was focusing so much on the education part of things that it was inhibiting my ability to go out and take real action. So that's something that I've learned that we'll elaborate more on. And we realized that trying to be a generalist and do everything was really not serving us at the end of the day. It was taking us off our game. So I still do all kinds of deals. I mean, we just bought a subject to, we're always making alternate types of offers if a cash offer doesn't work for somebody. So I'm glad I have those things in my toolkit. But I've learned that, just like in the medical field, the specialists are going to be setting their own hours more likely than the generalists. They're going to be working fewer hours, making more money. And so that has been a great lesson for us. And just in general, to follow one course until successful. I think that's really important. So many people are like, ooh, let me try this. And oh, that's not working quite the way I wanted to. So let me try this. And you keep trying new things and then nothing ever works because you never actually focus enough in one place to get the results. So move forward in one direction. So what we have tried to do in setting up our business, and I think this is applicable in a really general way to everybody, so that's why it's here. First, set a lifestyle vision. So for us, it was time and financial freedom. Anybody else got those as goals? Probably everybody in the room. So making sure that you understand what that means for you, right? Not just I want to have more money and I want to call the shots on my time, but what does that actually look like when you get up every day? How's that going to set the tone for what you're going to choose to think and do throughout the course of your day? And for us, obviously, it's to be able to work from home and homeschool. That's pretty general. I also really want to wear flip-flops. If you know me, you'll never see me in anything other than flip-flops unless it's like a formal event once a year or something like that. But I used to teach and I'd want to wear flip-flops because I'm in my classroom, just want to be comfortable, and I couldn't wear flip-flops. So that was always like one of those little tiny minor parts of my why that I was like, I just want to be able to do what I want to do, wear what I want to wear, and it don't matter. And then the biggest thing for us, we really want to travel with our family, make memories that way instead of just making memories in our home environment and being limited by jobs and that sort of thing. So we wanted something we could do from anywhere. So second, you need to set your plan and then just do it, because you're not going to be able to build a business that you haven't actually been boots on the ground and done yourself first. So I think that's really key. You'll see us talk a lot about the things tonight that we've done to build it into a business. But I definitely recommend that you go through the actual path of doing it first before you try to set that up, because otherwise you won't be as effective in building your team and teaching them what they need to do. Then you'll hire other people to just do it for you, and then train them and coach them to just do it without you. That's where we're getting actually now, which is nice. And then enjoy the automated business and reward your team for helping you make it all happen. And then just do it with another strategy. Okay, that's how you start to build multiple streams of income. But again, focusing on that one thing that you're really going to get good at and master before you shift to another thing. And that goes for not just strategies, for exit strategies and real estate investing, but also for like marketing channels. So for example, we do direct mail, and there's 5 or 6 different things that you could do to get the results that we're getting, but we're focusing in that one place because for us, we are getting to be masters of that. And I'm not really ready to move on to other things while we're still getting down all the intricacies of that method. Anything you want to add there?
No, I totally agree.
Okay. Well, he actually sat back there and he's like, good job, have a good time tonight. Like, I'll be sure you don't come back here. I'm like, your name was on this too. So, okay. So key things we've learned. So just a few things that I want to share that are kind of general, and then we'll go into a little bit more specific on the actual wholesaling stuff. Prioritizing planning activities. This was a really helpful tool that I found that we've tried to model our business year and our planning on is the 12-week year, and it's get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. And so the way this works is you break down the year into quarters. So instead of having your annual goals, which you'll have too, try to think in terms of quarterly goals. So each quarter becomes a year. And in that quarter, there's 12 weeks, which is like the 12 months of the year. So each week is going to become a month. And then you start to notice that every single day in every single week really counts toward you meeting those goals. And I think a lot of people, it's really easy to think, I'm going to try to hit this goal for the year. But then you're like, well, I can go do this other thing for the day. And then that becomes a few days. And then by the time your month goes by, you've maybe accomplished a few things you set out to accomplish, but not in a really consistent way to get to your goals. So people are constantly falling short of their goals, I think, for that reason. And this is just a little quote from their website. It's not what you know, it's not even who you know, it's what you implement that counts. And I would almost bet you that every single person that's not getting the results they want in their business, it's because they're not focusing on their pathway and implementing consistently.
Yeah, and I would also add, if you're in this business, also have weekly meetings, even if it's just you and your wife or just you by yourself, like sit down and have that meeting and go through what you've actually accomplished for that week and then strategize for the next week. And that's been very helpful.
Yeah, just like general accountability, like what did I set out to do? What did I actually do? What held me back? And was it me holding me back or was it something else? What am I going to do this week to overcome those things and hit those goals that I've set for myself? And you can also see at 12weekyear.com, they have a whole training program. They do all sorts of bigger stuff than just this book. So I definitely recommend checking them out. You can go through modules. It'll walk you through setting like a vision plan and that sort of thing to structure your business and set your goals and all that. And I don't know if you can really, yeah, you can. Okay, so this comes from a book, The One Thing, with Gary Keller. I think there's another author that goes with it, but I think this is applicable as you're setting your plan for your goals. It's not just about what you're going to do in your business. It's also about what are you going to do in your family life, in your marriage, as a parent, you know, in your spiritual life, in your physical, healthy, you know, in that field. So find the one thing that you can really focus on for each quarter and really hone in on that and set some goals for yourself, and then make sure that you're hitting it on all those points. I know Howie talked about the spokes of life and making sure that it's all kind of balanced a few months ago so that your wheel of life isn't like tripping over itself because some things are high and some things are low in that wheel. I'm not illustrating it very well, but you know, you have a round wheel that's going to roll for you moving forward, and if it's like all jagged like this, you're going to have a hard time moving it forward. So I think that this is a good way to focus on that.
Yeah, and if you're just focused on your business, which we have in the past, you start to see your other parts of your life just kind of deteriorating. And so you really need to be focused on every part of your life to make it successful.
I'll give you an example. I mentioned that I was a nutrition coach and yoga instructor before I got into real estate. And since I got into real estate, I let it take over my life because I enjoyed it so much, to be honest. But I literally went 2 weeks ago and did my first yoga class in 6 years since I was there last. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're still alive. So make sure you keep those things going too. And this is from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is just a little tool I'd like to share because it's been so useful to me. You can see here that you're going to choose your roles in life. So that could be like physical health, your business, your parenting, whatever it might be. and set some specific actions that you want to take for the week. And then you build them into your time landscape and delegate the things you need to delegate. And then the quadrants, I think, is really important. If you've read the 7 Habits, you've read about the different quadrants and how you spend your time. And so many people, and I've been guilty of this myself, when I first started coaching, it was like, okay, what have you done for the week? And it was meant to be like, what high priority, like revenue generating things have you done? And I've got this list of like 50 things that I've done. I mean, I've been productive. Like I've worked all day, all night long, and yet I still really don't have anything to show for it. So it's really easy to do that and feel like you're doing the right thing, but you're really not actually focusing in the right places. So this is to show you what the different quadrants are if you're not familiar with it. You've got your important and urgent, your not important, not urgent. So firefighting, these are your crises, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects, things that you have to attend to. In quadrant 2, that's your not urgent but important. That's really where you want to be spending your time. So prevention, capability improvement, relationship building, recognizing new opportunities, also planning and recreation, right? I left out the yoga while I was planning, so I was getting parts of it, but you need all those things in that area. You got not important and urgent, distractions, things like your email, like my phone, my watch even. You know, these are horrible. I mean, they're so helpful, but every time it buzzes, I'm like distracted from what I'm doing. And not urgent, not important, those are your time wasters. And if you want to look at names for people that fit in those categories, you've got the procrastinator, the prioritizer, which is where you want to be. You want to make sure you're prioritizing properly. Procrastinator could be doing all those activities and feeling like you've accomplished something when you really haven't moved forward that much. You got the yes man, who's always responding to every little thing that comes up, or the slacker, who's just going to waste that time and feel like, oh, it didn't work because I didn't work, basically is what it comes down to.
Yeah, if you want to know some great time wasters, you can just let me know. I mean, you can create your own logo. You can create the perfect business card. Those are great ways to not make money. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you don't need all that stuff to do business. We have not been using business cards. If you've ever asked us for one in recent years, we never have them on us. All right, we'll give you our phone number if you ask and you want to talk to us, but we don't take them on appointments to talk to people. We just don't have them. The last ones we made were a long time ago. And we started prioritizing what we needed to do, and that has not been high on our priority list, and it has not affected us one bit. So just realize you don't need a website, you don't need a card, you don't need some specific presentation to be able to do this business and do it well. All right, some more things we've learned: prioritizing business activities. So whatever niche you want to be in real estate investing, your number one job is as a marketer or networker, because that's how you're going to get deals. And you may not see it that way, but if you're buying off somebody's wholesale list, that's a form of marketing. You're networking with them. You're taking inbound marketing. If you're doing direct mail, cold calling, putting out bandit signs, those are obvious forms of marketing. But as I said, we got our sixplex because we were networking with people, and I just happened to know that there was a deal there, and I just really went after it. And so we ended up getting that with some really special, great terms on it, and it's been a great deal for us. So if you're not doing that, whether marketing outwardly or networking to get deals coming into you, then you're not going to be very successful in any of the strategies that you might try to do, because you're not going to have enough exposure to deals to be able to pick good ones.
Yeah, I think we ran the numbers on it once where we tried to figure out what was our best return of money, and it was always in marketing. That's where we got our highest return of money compared to our rentals or when we did rehabs or anything. Our highest return was doing marketing.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about talking about that, but that's true. I mean, our average right now over the past 2 years, for every dollar that we spend on marketing, we're getting back anywhere from 10 to 20 times what we're putting out. So, I mean, that's a huge return. So if you're not, like, so many people are like, oh, it's so expensive and it's risky. What if it doesn't work? Well, if you do it and you do it consistently and you take it seriously, it's the best money that you're going to be able to make as a return for your investment. So revenue always needs to be in first position. So that's a great way to prioritize. Is what I'm doing right now actually going to generate income? So if it's let me work on the business card versus finding a way to get on the phone and talk to more people and look for a deal, which one's more likely to net you an actual return if you do it, right? So that's how you should be thinking about things. And progress, not perfection. And I'm guilty of this. I grew up a perfectionist. I played that game really well. And then it started to break me with the stress of trying to always be on point. And so I had to learn the hard way that, you know, sometimes you just got to let it go and take what you got today and roll with it. And it'll get better tomorrow and get better the next day, because failing forward is really important, right? I think there's the thing with Thomas Edison, like how many times did he fail at making the light bulb before he actually got it right? Right? He didn't do that because he was trying to be perfect out of the gate and then was like, oh, it doesn't work because I didn't get it right the first time. Right? So keep that in mind. Even if you don't know what you're doing, the best thing you can do is just go take a stab at it and learn from the mistakes that you might make or learn from the successes that you get.
Yeah, we've definitely made some mistakes when we try to automate our marketing, like put the wrong number on there and wasted thousands of dollars. But, you know, now we're at the stage where it is automated and we can send it out, and, you know, it's successful now.
Yeah, I make a lot of mistakes and I feel good about it now. Mistakes are a good thing. No, you did. You definitely did. Accountability is key. So as Josh was saying, having somebody to check over your work is always a good thing too. But making sure that you're checking in with somebody, whether it's your spouse or it's a teammate or it's just somebody that you know from like networking that wants accountability as well. I mean, have an accountability partner, I think, is one of the greatest things about being in a coaching environment, is knowing that you have other people there to support you and cheer you on. And that's really important in anything that you're doing, really. And then data, not drama. I can't tell you how many people have told me, oh, it doesn't work because I did X, Y, and Z and it just didn't work. So, you know, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do this instead. And if you start asking questions to diagnose, like, what have they really done? You know, for example, if I'm sending 1,000 postcards to talk to, say, 10 people, and I'm expecting to talk to 50 people to get a deal, 1,000 postcards really isn't that many to send. And I hear from people all the time, I sent like 300 letters, and I got some calls, but none of them were deals, so it just doesn't work. There's too much competition. So you get like, you know, the plant's not even grown out of the ground yet, and you're giving up on it because you don't really know what it takes. You haven't persevered, you haven't gone the extra mile and given it the time that it needs to develop. A lot of people also don't understand that it takes much bigger numbers to do it. So you've got to get some results to be able to start to track your specific numbers in your market. And then it starts to get really fun because you're like, I know exactly what I need to do to get exactly that many deals to get that amount of money on average. And then it's just planning based on that. So data, not drama. If you're feeling like emotionally worked up about it, you're probably focusing in the wrong place.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that, where Marlene is like, we're going to send out 10,000, 15,000 marketing, and I want to go into a ball and start crying. You know, but she's like, look at the numbers, you know, we've made, you know, hundreds of thousands off of this one campaign. Stop crying, little baby.
I did not say that. But I will tell you, at the beginning of this year, well, the end of last year, I was looking at the numbers, and I was the only one in our team that was looking at them. And I said, you guys, I think we need to set much higher goals. The 10X plan with Greg Cardone has been very helpful to me to read that book. And just scale everything up, because I used to think, you know, coming from a teacher's salary, if I could make $100,000 a year, I'd be super stoked. That would meet all our needs that I felt that we had, and then give us some on top of that. But building a team, and you start to see the expenses growing, as we were just talking here, you know, you want to make sure that it's going to be solid enough, not only for your own family, but also for everybody on your team, so that everybody wants to keep moving forward because it's a good, solid thing. So knowing your numbers is really important. And I said to the team, I'm going to go from this like 5,000 pieces a month that we're sending up to 20,000 pieces a month, because not only do we have the capacity for it, but the numbers indicate that we're going to hit our goals for the year, and I'm going to 10x those goals, so 100,000 to $1 million for the year. And everybody was like, no, it's not going to work. And it worked right out of the gate. And so we've had some changes this year, and like it's fluctuated a little bit. We'll tell you our numbers later, but it still consistently performs because it's in the numbers. It's not in your emotions. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Do you want to add something?
I think I have it enough.
All right, and this was really important, as I mentioned, trying to do it as a business instead of just as a thing that you do on the side. And a lot of people, I think, do real estate investing on the side because they don't understand what it takes to do it as a business. So what was very helpful to me was the E-Myth Revisited, why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. And just the general overview of it is in every business, there's going to be a technician, somebody who's really good at doing the actual skilled labor of it, the manager who's going to be in charge of the systems, the people, make sure everything's being managed according to the policies of the business. And then there's the entrepreneur. So you got to decide where you really want to be. Like, I want to be the entrepreneur, and I want to get to design and be creative and, have things go the way that I want them to go. So I need to hire the manager and the technician. Now, I can't effectively set those policies and everything and teach people what they need to know if I haven't been the technician first. But I think so many people get stuck in that technician role because they're like, I'm good at swinging the hammer, right? I'm good at property managing. I'm still guilty of that. I make too much money from it to want to let it go for how little I work on it. But, those sorts of things, if you're stuck in that technician role, or even if you're just trying to always manage the team and micromanage them, you're never going to get to that 30,000 foot view as the entrepreneur and start to build other streams of income, because you're always going to have a job. So you got to get yourself into the entrepreneur role if you want to have a business. And another book that's great for that is The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Mccallum. A simple strategy to grow a remarkable business in any field. And he talks about the people that grow like the $1 million pumpkins, right? People pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for an individual seed from the prize-winning pumpkins. And the reason is because they think that they can use that and then go seed their own prize-winning pumpkin and make $1 million, right? So people do that, but you're not going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for a seed and then go plant it in a patch where there's a bunch of little tiny pumpkins and then feed and water all those pumpkins, right? And I think a lot of people do that. Like, we were guilty of that with doing all the different strategies. We weren't choosing the one pumpkin to grow and invest in and get $1 million pumpkin. We were choosing to tend to every little pumpkin that came up in the patch, right? Even when they really had nothing to do with our business and people were asking us to work for their business, right? I did a lot of that in the beginning. I think I'll learn so much. I'll have great opportunities come from that. What it really did was suck a lot of time and energy out of me, helping other people. And when I finally devoted that to our business, made our business the pumpkin I wanted to focus on, and then made wholesaling the one specific pumpkin that I was trying to grow, things got a lot better.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it goes back to staying focused on that one thing and getting really good at it. Even if it's marketing or if it's wholesaling or rehabbing or any strategy, just get really good at it.
Yeah, focus is key. And then financial activities. We've had a lot of money come into our business this year. And something that we've had to learn is what to do with it, especially now that neither one of us is W-2 employees, so we don't have standard income coming in anymore. We have to figure out, like, how much of each dollar do we need to actually take as owner pay? How much do we need to put aside toward taxes? What is profits? Like, you hear about profits. Is that everything that comes in? Do I just get to go spend all the extra? Mm-hmm. And so we have actually decided to use this system. This is, again, Mike Mccallum, same guy's Pumpkin Plan. Profit first, transform your business from a cash-eating monster to a money-making machine. And he talks a lot about how expenses will overrun your business. A lot of people are like, oh, I have extra money, I might as well invest in this new thing, do this new thing. I can only, if it doesn't work, it's fine. I'm guilty of that too, but since we've been doing this, I have a cap on how much I can spend. And if that starts to get low, I got to start making serious choices. So this is how his suggested model breaks down, and this is what we're using, and it's been really excellent for us. 5% of every dollar goes to your profits account, and he suggests using different bank accounts, okay, just so you keep it really distinct. And I actually have really liked that because it makes it seem really off limits when it's in a different place. And, we call our accounts expenses and profit and all those things. And he says every quarter, at the end of each quarter, you should be taking your profits, or at least half of them, not at least half, and spending it in a splurging way. So go on a vacation, buy something fancy for yourself. If you got a bunch of debt, use it to pay down your debt. That's the more responsible thing. But knowing that each quarter, based on how well you've performed, you get to go and have a fun party for yourself. Last year, or at the beginning of the year, we went to Vegas. We went to see a friend who was having a birthday, and, that's why we were there. But we used our profits to go and have a nice trip and went out to California and had a really great time as a family. So each quarter, that's growing for us because you're only taking half out of the account each time, and then you add more to it and you take half again. So it kind of gets fun as it's like spiraling, like the ball's getting bigger. We do 50% to owner pay, and 10% of that we give away right off the top. 15% to taxes, which you may need to set more aside depending on your business, but pay them quarterly so that you know where you stand. And then the remaining 30% goes to expenses. So notice that you're paying your profits and yourself first, and then you're setting aside the money for the expenses. So the idea is not pay my expenses and set aside money for taxes, and whatever is left, we get to live off of and call profits. Okay, so it's a different way of looking at it.
And I would say before we started to do this, psychologically, we would get really lazy when we got successful. So let's say we got 20 grand in from a deal. We'd be like, okay, we're set. We can spend. Let's go splurge some money. Let's not
We
think.
could not really do that.
But, you would stop thinking about other deals and how to bring in other income. But if you take that 20,000 now and you cut it in half and say, okay, now I have 50% of that. That's what my real owner pay is, and then that kind of switched our paradigm and the shift and made us see things a lot differently.
Yeah, because making $100,000 in the business for the year seems like a great goal, but then when you cut it in half, you're only really making $50,000 bring home pay. It's a different sort of thing. And if you're not setting aside that other 50% for the business and the expenses related to it, you're going to get yourself in trouble, and you don't want to be in that position. All right, so if you want to kind of follow in general footsteps, these are just some questions to get you thinking about what you want to do. So what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? It needs to start there, because if you start some sort of a business and it doesn't work with what your lifestyle goals are, if you want to be at home more with your kids and you're choosing a niche that's going to have you away from home more, then it's probably not the right thing for you. So start by considering what you want your life to look like and how you're going to work a business around what you want so that you can be happy. There's another book, I forget the author, but Your Money or Your Life. His dad gave it to us years ago, and it was such a great book. It's like you really need to decide what you want out of life, because you're never going to be happy if you don't go for that first and foremost. All right, which investing niche fits best with your goals based on that vision? How much money do you want to make, and how many deals do you need to make that much? I think a lot of people are like, I'm going to do a bunch of deals and I'm going to make a bunch of money, and then they might do some deals and might make some money, but there's no real goal there. Like, you really need to start with the end in mind and then work it back from there. Which marketing approach fits best for your goals and any budget restraints that you have, knowing that you definitely do need to be marketing in some way, right? Even if it's by networking, going out to lots of meetings and that sort of thing. How will you handle all the calls and follow-up that will be needed afterward? Even if you're networking, you need to be talking to people regularly to build those relationships. So you need to be on the phone, right? I'm phone phobic. If you know me, it's impossible to get me on the phone. And that's a hindrance to me, although I've hired other people to do that for me now, so I can kind of do that. But you need to have a plan to be able to talk to tons of people on a regular basis if you're going to do enough deals to really make this into a business, or even just to get consistent results, doing it more as a hobby. When you're hiring somebody, make sure that you know what your own personal core values are. Don't just hire somebody because they're your friend or family member. They show interest. You met them at a RIA. They seem to have some experience. They had a license at one point or do now. Those are not reasons to hire somebody. I've done that, and we've had some good results, so I don't mean to knock it. It can work. But really the best way to hire somebody is to determine for yourself, what am I really looking for? Like the perfect person. And then launch a wide campaign to try and find that person, and then put them through a hiring process so you can see the cream of the crop rise, and then you can select from the top few people, because you really want the best if you're going to hire somebody. And it really doesn't take any more energy to hire somebody that way than it does to try and get your buddy to do it with you. And I've been guilty of that. I'm like, this is the best thing in the world. Like, you want to do this with me. And my enthusiasm for it has convinced a number of people to work with me. And, if they don't share the same core values for various reasons, it ends up not working out. So really always start with the end in mind with those core values. How will you coach and reward your team is very important, because how many of you ever had a boss before that was not very nice to work for? Did not really reward you even when you were performing at a really high level? You don't want to be that sort of a leader on your team. So make sure you have a plan for what you're going to do to incentivize them and support them. And then what will you do with your profits, and how will you be a go-giver? Don't make it a question, do I have enough money to give? If you're making money, you need to be giving in one way or another. I mean, we give to our church and to other things, but there are tons of things in the world you can give to. And the more that you give, the more you're going to start receiving. And I don't know if you noticed, but the 5% profit account is the equivalent of what we're tithing every time we get a check. So 5% goes into our little stash fund and 5% goes out to somebody else. And so it's neat to see that account grow and realize, like, we're giving this much money away. It's pretty amazing. It feels really good. And we know, like, we're helping support people. We do a lot of, like, support for missions and that sort of stuff through our church. So, we're trying to help people and look for new ways to do it. And that starts to get really fun in and of itself.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that. Do you have that competitive mindset, or are you out to give to other people? And when you start to give, you start to receive more than what you thought you could.
And I'll say, I mean, I've always been a believer in tithing, but we didn't really have a very strong financial position for a long time in our lives. You know, we were just kind of making ends meet, trying to save where we could. So it was really hard to feel like we could give consistently. And there were times when we chose not to give because we just felt things were a little bit too tight. In the point where we were having that huge financial transition, decided to go all in with wholesaling. That was one of the decisions that we made, is every dollar that we make, we're going to tithe 10% no matter what. We're just going to do it as a matter of principle. And since we've been doing that, everything's been going so much more amazing in our business. And I can't say that's the reason why, but I do believe that that had something to do with it.